Hi, everyone. I'm Jeremy Long, the Full Metal Traveler, and you're listening to the Unskilled Travel Show. In today's episode, we're talking about camping, how it's changed, how it's evolved, what all it includes now. It's certainly not like how we remember camping when we were young, and we're not even that old, even though my back would tell you different. As always, you can contact us at fullmetaltraveler.com for all of our past episodes, guest interviews. My co-host and fellow traveler, fellow camper, is my wife, Amy Long.
Hello.
Hey, where are you? We are brought to you by Diamondback Land Surveying. For all of your land surveying needs, contact Diamondback Land Surveying at 702-823-DBLS. That's 702-823-DBLS or 3257. Or by visiting them online at diamondbacklandsurveying.com. Thank you so much to Trent and Lisa Keenan for all that they do in our community and, of course, supporting our show.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, there you go. Like I said, camping has changed.
It has.
So much.
Yes.
What kind of camp did you go camping when you were young? I think we've talked about this in past episodes, but did you?
Yes, we did. We used to go camping. I mean, as we've both said before, we did not grow up in upper class families, so camping was the type of vacation we could afford.
That is the most political way of saying we were white trash.
Well, I'm trying to be nice just in case our family's listening. But yes, so we would go camping every year. My grandparents, who were big RVers, would take their RV out for 4 to 6 weeks every summer. And then at the end of it, they would go to Florida and we would meet them out there, and they would park the RV at a campground / RV park in Fort Walton Beach, Florida, which is near Pensacola. And they would stay in the RV and we would stay in tents outside of the RV. So yes,
they would put you just outside with the elements.
Well, they actually did have two. They had the big RV and then they had the little one that you pulled behind a truck, a pop-up. You crank the thing and the top rose. And so sometimes my dad would pull that one and we would get to sleep in the pop-up, but not always. And I do remember one year there was not enough beds and I ended up sleeping outside in a hammock the whole time.
At least you weren't on the floor, I guess, on the ground.
Oh yeah, I'm not sleeping on the ground.
Did they, with those pop-up campers, did they ever clean it out, or did they just, was it spider webs and all?
Oh, no, they cleaned it out.
Good.
My grandpa was very meticulous about keeping his campers and his RV clean. So at the end of every trip that they took, he would bring it back to their house and he would wash it from head to toe. I remember going over there and he'd be on a ladder scrubbing the RV, and then he would go drive it over to the storage place.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a great memory.
You did so much more than I did. I have like maybe 1 or 2 memories, none of them pleasant, about camping. We had a place nearby. I know you've mentioned it before, but like on Lake Sam Rayburn in Southeast Texas, where we grew up, there was a place called Dam B.
Yep, we used to go there too. If you wanted a quick trip, we would go up to Dam B. They had those shelters. Remember those?
I saw the shelters, but I never stayed out there.
The shelter was...
Country people scared me. You forget that.
Well, the shelter was basically just a roof and a slab, and then there were screens all the way around with the door. Yeah. So you were protected from mosquitoes, things like that, but there was no AC. It did have like one light inside. Mm-hmm. So we would bring inflatable mattresses and sleep in the shelters, but basically you grilled and you swam in the lake or the reservoir, whatever it was, and you would go walk around the little trails. But
absolutely,
I will go camping as long as I don't have to sleep on the ground.
A lot of state parks still have those like just basic primitive shelters where you're not sleeping in the mud. Basically, you're not like primitive tent camping on the ground. Camping, has become more accessible, I think, over the last few years to everyday people. And it, I think in part it is due to technology. Technology has gotten smaller. I mean, it used to be like in the 70s and 80s, your dad would probably try to sneak the little, they had the little small TVs because the big game just happened to be that weekend. But really, if you think back even further than that, grills became more portable. So you could bring a grill with you and like grill food instead of like trying to use the nasty grills at some of these public places. And even just the spread of places like KOAs
Oh, right.
and these little camping spots that offered, most of the time it was bare amenities, but then they started getting nicer.
You just reminded me. I forgot I've been to several. My parents would take us to some KOAs
Oh, Lord, I just triggered
too.
some memories.
No. I mean, they
Oh,
were.
okay.
Some are nicer than others, but some of these KOAs have really nice cabins.
Yeah.
I mean, it was surprising as a teenager to go to a few of these places and realize it was actually like a small house.
Mm-hmm.
We went to one, I want to say it was near Durango, Colorado, and it was probably the nicest one we've ever stayed at.
Okay.
You're laughing at me, but it was like it had like 3 rooms in it, and so my parents had their own room, and my sister and I shared a room, and it had bunk beds, and then there was a living space in the front.
Wow.
It didn't have a full kitchen, but it, from what I recall, had like a sink and maybe a small mini fridge or something in it. But and it did have its own little bathroom, whereas some of them you do not have your own bathroom. It is a community bathroom,
Yeah.
which at least you have plumbing. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not one to go to the bathroom outside. So,
Oh, man.
yeah.
Yeah.
But we did stay at a few different KOAs across the country. Now that you totally reminded me of that.
There you go. It's bringing eternal memories to life there. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of my point is creature comforts have started to become more commonplace. Not just now, but like at one point, Airstreams, Winnebagos, these were like the height of luxury for
Right.
RVing, / camping, getting out and everything. They allowed you to bring those little creature comforts, a little kitchenette area, like you mentioned, where you could have a burner going and some food and, little places to sleep, everything folded out into a bed. Remember those?
Yes.
Um,
The table lowers and then you put the cushions, the bench cushions on it.
yeah. And it was maybe, 2 steps above sleeping in the dirt, man, how uncomfortable it was. But now, I mean, my parents have their RV camper thing is like 45 feet long.
It is huge.
It's got satellite TV in it.
Yeah.
I mean, richer people, have like hot tubs.
Can you imagine pulling or driving an RV that has a hot tub in it?
It's more like people are just bringing their lives with them and then just setting up shop in like a mountain town and being like, all right, now we're back to nature. Is it really?
I mean, I guess it's subjective.
Hmm.
People are wanting to get out of their everyday atmosphere, I guess is the best way to word it. But they
Yeah.
don't want
Yeah.
to let go of those creature comforts, as you were saying. So how better to do that than to rent an RV or purchase one or go to places where there's still air conditioning and indoor plumbing, because nobody wants to.
Indoor plumbing is so
Yeah,
big, man.
yeah. I know you've done some camping where there was no indoor plumbing. I
Yeah.
refuse. There is a hard line for me. I'm not doing that.
We'll get into that later. Some of our favorite places that we've been. And actually, it's weird that the last few years, I've actually started camping more than I ever did, ever. For some reason, I'm just now thinking about that. But yes, it includes backpacking in the wilderness and using the bathroom outdoors. And I never thought I'd have a conversation with my friends who we're all in our late 30s, early 40s about the best shovel, the best trowel to use when wanting to make sure that you pack out everything that you pack in besides,
Oh, yeah.
and burying your waste and stuff. I never thought I'd have to have those conversations, but
But now you have.
now I have.
Do you feel like your life is complete?
I feel like my life is something. It's something having these conversations. So, we'll get into, when we come back, we're going to get into the rise of glamping. A little bit later in the show, we're going to talk to David Sodemann from Boho Camper Vans about a different form of getting out there and seeing the world, right? Getting on the road.
Right.
The CN Scale Travel Show. We're going to have more when we come back. Keep it right here, won't you? You will, 'cause I said so. Welcome back to the Unscaled Travel Show. It's Jeremy Long, the Full Metal Traveler, along with my fellow camper, Amy Long. We are talking about camping, the evolution of it, some of our favorite places coming up in just a minute, and just a few. We're going to talk to David Sodemann, one of the founders of Boho Camper Vans out of Arizona, where you could rent one of these really nice vans. Hashtag van life. But before we get to all that, from America's most famous monuments to her national parks, our land surveyors have been there to measure the physical world and discover the true lay of the land. So for all of your land surveying needs, contact Diamondback Land Surveying at 702-823-3257. That's 702-823-DBLS, or by visiting them online at diamondbacklandsurveying.com. Thank you so much to Diamondback Land Surveying for sponsoring and supporting our show. We appreciate it. We mentioned a minute ago about glamping, the rise of glamping, and really the rise of just modern technology and modern comforts, creature comforts in camping. It's not primitive. Like, camping was a necessity at one point. When people were traversing the United States continent or whatever, they couldn't take, before the railroads were built and all of that stuff, they couldn't take stuff with them. It was, you were either sleeping under the stars, called cowboy camping, right?
Right.
You just had maybe a blanket, your horse, your old trusty horse.
I thought you were talking more about like Oregon Trail. People pack up their
Oregon
wagon
Trail,
with their family, and they head across the country.
And then at least two of you are going to die of dysentery. I'm just going to leave you buried on the side of the road here. Remarry the first woman I see and just move on with
I think
life.
that's a whole different episode.
Yeah, there you go. That is a whole different episode.
But yes, camping used to be a necessity. You were traveling, you didn't have any other options, or as you said, cowboy camping. You worked on the land, and you didn't have the luxury of sleeping in a real bed.
No. So now we have glamping, right? Which glamping seems to have kind of jumped to the forefront of a lot of outdoors magazines and outdoor travel stuff. But glamping has actually, for those who may not know, glamping and the word glamping has been around since at least 2005. That's where they trace the word back to in the United Kingdom. Okay.
Oh, I did not know that.
I mean, it's so commonplace over there that in 2016, it was officially made a part of the Oxford, I think, dictionary as far as the UK is concerned and everything. But it's really caught on in the last few years here with places popping up all over the nation.
Right, yeah.
And all of them offering different kind of amenities. Some of them just basics. Some of them pretty wild for how you want to take in the nature that you're starting to enjoy, I guess, when you go out there. The first time we saw it was a couple of years ago. Do you remember that? It was when we were looking at things at Zion National Park.
Yeah. And I had never really understood what glamping was. I was like, because when you think of camping, you think of a regular tent. And I'm like, how can you make that luxurious? But then you see pictures of these places and you're like, this is an actual structure that somebody could live in. And now I think the word glamping has evolved. So it's not even really these canvas structures anymore. I mean, I looked at a few places when we decided to talk about this, and some of them you can rent like an Airstream that's stationary. You don't drive it around. Some of these are more permanent structure type places. So glamping is not really just tent camping anymore. It's so many other things.
No, I think last year I did a story for Matador Network about glamping in Texas. And so it was some of the best spots and some of the more, up and coming places. There are places that have yurts. I think one of them is actually called Yurtopia.
Yurtopia.
Then my friends over at Flophouse outside of Austin, they take the old container ship things, boxes. What do you call them?
Containers.
Container boxes. There you go. And they've converted them, completely gutted the inside and like put up wood wood walls and plumbing and things like that. They even have a pool made out of half a container and just all kinds of stuff, man. It's wild.
Yeah.
Glamping is now. Here's for camping purists, glamping they probably turn their nose up at it.
Oh yeah.
Why would you're defeating the purpose,
Yeah.
right?
What's the point in camping if you're not out in nature?
When we were talking about it years ago when I was first kind of figuring it out, that was my thought, was what is the point? Because basically you're just bringing a tiny bit of, you're basically renting out an apartment, and then you walk outside and there are some mountains.
Yeah.
You're not really doing any camping, but I think that's how the evolution of camping is coming along. And I firmly actually believe that glamping has otherwise allowed people the experience to a degree of camping that would otherwise never camp, like you.
Yeah.
I love you to death, but there's no way you're pooping outside.
I am not.
And your days of sleeping on the ground are over.
I will not sleep on the ground.
That's where I rescued you and I brought you up and I was like, never have to sleep on the ground again. That's what I did, for you.
Yeah. You keep telling that story. No, I agree, though. I think glamping has made camping more appealing to people, people who are not so into the primitive type of camping, the sleeping bag on the ground, or if you didn't even have a sleeping bag, glamping lets you have a similar experience without a lot of the inconveniences.
Yeah.
And so people get to be out in nature. They get to have a version of that experience that they're still comfortable with. But saying that, it may be a gateway to get to more primitive camping.
100%. I do agree that it could allow people to open it up and love it so much that the next time they go out, they may strip away a little bit more of the technology or the comforts and allow themselves a little bit more freedom. Like, hey, the last one wasn't so bad, so this time we're gonna do away with some of these places. There are places, there's so many to name. There are too many to name, honestly. But there are glamping campgrounds that offer movie nights.
Yeah.
And, different things that all wrap around technology. So maybe the next time you go out in the camping world, maybe you leave that behind. Like, okay, maybe I don't need a place with camping nights. And maybe I could do the communal shower or something like that. Whatever your comfort level is. But maybe it starts introducing you step by step to something a little bit closer to what maybe camping purists would call actual camping.
I think so. I really do. And I think it's also a great alternative for people who want to go maybe on day hikes or do different activities that are more nature focused, and they don't have to drive back into the city and stay in a hotel. They can stay in that same environment, but still have those comforts of staying in a hotel.
I like it. I like hotels. When we come back, we are going to speak with David Sodemann, one of the founders of Boho Camper Vans out of Arizona. Those luxury vans, #van life. You hear it all the time. Keep it right here. Here, it's Unscaled Travel Show. We'll be right back. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Unscaled Travel Show. It's Jeremy Long, the Full Metal Traveler. And as always, you can find all of our past episodes and interviews on the website, fullmetaltraveler.com. So, we're inching our way into the cooler periods of the year. It's the best time, in my opinion, to get out, get on either the open road or pick up your backpack and go hit the trail. And so I thought, who better to speak to than one of the co-founders of Boho Vans, Camper Vans, I should say, David Sodemann. How are you today, David?
Doing excellent, Jeremy. Glad to be here.
Well, man, I think your story in the travel world is very well known. I think it's very, how do you say, it's very inspiring to see, a couple guys get out there and just risk it all, take a chance, and actually succeed in everything. But for those who may not know offhand, can you give us a quick little backstory about you and your partners? Just, I guess, your dream and how it all came to be.
Sure. So I'm an avid traveler and camper, and same with my partner. But usually when we travel, we'll go stay at resorts, or we'll go stay somewhere we've never been. Usually hotels and that type of stuff, Airbnb. So 2018 saw cheap tickets to Hawaii. So my fiance and I decided to go out there. We booked the tickets, and the trip was getting closer. We're like, oh man, we haven't booked where we're staying. Looking around, obviously you want to stay on the beach, and it was expensive. What we thought would be a budget trip with buying some budget tickets, airline tickets, turned into, wow, this is going to be expensive. And had seen kind of on social media people traveling in vans, and realized that, hey, this is an option that we can do out in Hawaii. So we rented a van for 4 nights. We traveled around the island. We camped on the beach. We saw everything we wanted to see for a fraction of the costs of what it would normally take to stay in Hawaii. And we just came back just feeling really refreshed. We were outside a lot. We felt like the trip was twice as long as the 4 or 5 days we were there. And we realized that this was a really cool way to travel. We got back to Arizona, and we're looking around saying, hey, maybe we can do this around here. There's still lots of places we'd like to go check out. And we didn't see any options, and said, hey, maybe we could build our own van.
What did you guys necessarily see, on the landscape that kind of pushed you to say, hey, this might be a vital, a business?
Well, from our own discovery, which was seeing these images on social media, we saw more and more people were turning towards social media, particularly Instagram, to get inspiration for trips and ways to travel. And so as we, did that ourselves, and then moved in towards, hey, wow, we can really take some great photos. We can really get our name out there very easily with the social media account, and just start producing content to inspire people to travel this way. And so we saw that starting to become more and more of a thing. This was 5-6 years ago. It's absolutely huge now. I think everyone's probably looked at Instagram once or twice before they go to a new destination to see if they're missing something, or if they want to add a destination to their trip. And so that was the landscape we saw. But overall, it really came down to a need that there wasn't in our area. And we realized, hey, this is a great place to launch a van business. I mean, our backyard in Arizona is just very helpful. There's so many cool things to see. And we noticed too that every time we had friends come to visit from out of town, we found ourselves traveling, doing lots of day trips, a couple hours to Sedona or 4 hours to the Grand Canyon. And every time you do that, you got to come back, right? Or you have to, spend money on a hotel. And so naturally, people that want to explore Arizona are going to be renting a car, staying in a hotel. They're usually not just going to stay in Phoenix. And so renting a camper van just made sense.
So if someone is out there, you're wondering about it, you've seen the pictures, and now you're wondering, hey, is this a good step for me? Take us through maybe the pros and cons of renting versus buying, or maybe just testing it out before you make a full commitment to purchasing a vehicle.
Certainly. We always recommend renting a camper van if you're interested in purchasing, especially if you're new to camping, right? It's an easy and just more affordable way to dip your toes into this type of travel.
Okay, let's flash forward. You've made the commitment. You think, hey, I'm gonna step out there. I'm gonna rent a van from Boho Camper Vans here. What in your opinion would be a good first trip, I guess, to maybe dip your toes in and try it out for an extended weekend or something?
Yeah. So I'd recommend 3 to 4 nights. And then that would include usually a designated campsite. So when you go camping, there's usually 2 ways you can go about it. You can do designated campsites, which usually have facilities, other campers nearby. Perhaps there's a fee to camp there. And then you have dispersed, which is BLM lands, a lot of that out here in the West. It's free. There's maybe no one around, but there's no facilities. So I would recommend planning a trip where maybe you have 1 or 2 nights where you do have a designated spot. So this is going to make you feel more comfortable camping, knowing there's facilities nearby, like, showers, vaulted toilets, as well as having neighbors close enough in case you have a question. I'd also not recommend trying to do like a major push trip, meaning you're spending more time traveling and driving than actually hanging out and enjoying your destination. I think people get hung up on the idea I gotta go, 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 go. But what's great about this type of travel is lots of relaxing and downtime and just being outside. A few hours of day of driving is great, but ultimately when I camp or recommend for anyone new to this, take some breaks, right? Find a place that you like and hang out there for a while. A good place from Phoenix, 2 hours away is called the Mogollon Rim, and not a lot of people have heard of it. But it's spectacular views. It's about 6,000 feet in elevation. And so it has excellent weather in the summer.
Are there any other, like just sticking here in the Southwest part of the United States, are there any other of your favorite road trips or maybe camping spots or destinations that you might recommend to people?
Yeah, certainly. So there's a lot to choose from in Arizona. I mean, there's so many places that you can get to within a single day or half a day. But I'd recommend a trip usually that gives you a bit of variety. So like a popular route that we recommend is Sedona to Lake Powell, which is on the Arizona-Utah border, then over to Zion National Park, and then make your way back down through Flagstaff, which is a cool mountain town in northern Arizona, before you get down to Phoenix. What's nice about that itinerary is you have 2 to 3 hour drives between the destinations, and you get to see a lot, right? Sedona, you have these beautiful views of the Red Rocks, amazing hikes. They have Oak Creek Canyon with camping along the river there. And then Lake Powell, most people have heard of Lake Powell, but it's this large desert dammed lake, and you can camp right on the beach there at the spot called Lone Rock Beach. And then nearby there's all sorts of cool destinations. Antelope Canyon is a really famous photograph slot canyon that has these rays of light that come through, and it's this beautiful sandstone paths. That's right outside Lake Powell that you can go do during the day. You could enjoy the water. There's, jet ski rentals and speedboats, and I mean, anything you can think of, paddleboarding. But if you want to just hang out on the beach, that's something fun to do too. So it's kind of cool. You can go from Red Rocks to the lake, and then over to Zion National Park, which is a spectacular national park with amazing campsites right in the park, which then allows you to camp and take public transportation. They have these trolleys that go around that could drop you off at the different trailheads and destinations within Zion National Park. So you don't really have to drive once you're there. You can kind of hop on trolleys and you can move around. You can rent bicycles. So that's a really great spot. So I recommend, because of the diversity of Arizona and what's nearby, that you can get a little bit of everything. And that's usually a trip that I'd recommend for people coming to camp, especially for the first time.
David Sodemann from Boho Camper Vans, thank you so much, man. I know you're so busy. If people want to test it out, they want to rent a van, they want to buy one, where can they find you guys on social and online?
Boho Vans all over social media. Our website's Boho.Life. Bohovans.com will take you to us as well. Just Google Boho Camper Vans, you'll find us.
Ladies and gentlemen, stick around after this. We're going to have more. It's On Scale Travel Show. Keep it right here. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Unscaled Travel Show. It's Jeremy Long, the Full Metal Traveler. Remember, you can check us out, all of our past interviews, all of our past episodes on fullmetaltraveler.com. We do appreciate you when you go there and share those sound clips and everything else. And again, thank you so much to Diamondback Land Surveying for all of their sponsorship and support and friendship over the years. Trent and Lisa Keenan, no two better pillars in the community here in Las Vegas than those two wonderful people. So for all of your land surveying needs, contact Diamondback Land Surveying at 702-823-DBLS. That's 702-823-3257, or by visiting them online at diamondbacklandsurveying.com. With the conversation with David
Yeah.
Sodemann in the last segment, he mentioned some places that he would suggest, some of his favorite spots in the American Southwest, if you are looking for RV or camping, / road trips or anything like that. So maybe you have never been, or maybe you're just trying to test out the waters to see if van life is for you. If that is something that you want to do and really commit to, he recommends renting a van, which they do provide. And you can go to Boho.Life to check out their whole fleet of vans, camper vans, before you make the commitment, because they do come with a nice little price tag. But if you want to try it out for 3 or 4 days, he mentioned places like Antelope Canyon in Page, Arizona. He mentioned places outside of Zion National Park. And these are all kinds of places that check out because we've been there.
Yeah, we have. We have.
He also mentioned like anywhere around Flagstaff.
Oh, Flagstaff is beautiful.
Anywhere. We haven't quite made it down to Sedona yet, but from the stories, it's going to be a treat when we actually do get to go down there. We have been to other locations like Sequoia National Park, which is in California.
We have. That was, we weren't even supposed to go there. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Yeah.
We went on a riding retreat, and we were about an hour and a half from Sequoia, and we're like, let's go. So we blew off a whole day of riding to go see Sequoia National Park, but it was lovely. And the place we stayed, it's not technically camping, but I think it fits in this theme because to me, camping has evolved and it encompasses so many things. Mm-hmm. So we rented an Airbnb that was on a working farm, and it was one of the outbuildings that they turned into a little cabin. And do you remember the cabin?
The cabin name?
No, but just do you remember the cabin?
Yeah.
How we were the first people to stay in it,
mm-hmm.
and the AC didn't work, and it was the middle of the summer.
Well, the AC worked. It was just a little bitty window unit.
Oh, right.
Remember? I mean, it felt like the AC didn't work because it was trying to pump out. I don't think there was a whole lot of insulation in this place. I do believe that if it's in the cooler months, like how we're headed now, fall, spring, or whatever, in those mountains, that place is probably it's like heaven on earth. And I have no doubt.
It was lovely because you were right there by the mountains, and the owners let us walk around the farm, told us we could go pet any of the animals, just make sure you close the gates.
Yeah.
We took our dog. He loved it.
Oh, I felt so bad because he didn't want to leave.
He did not. He was in dog heaven.
He was, man, chasing rabbits. He ran into a gate. Full sprint. Our dog ran into a gate. I thought he knocked himself silly, and no, he just got up wagging. He had an abrasion on his face. Poor thing. He had never been on a farm, so he didn't know what the hell was happening. But yeah, I mean, Sequoia, Kings Canyon. I mean, it was literally feet away from the entrance to Kings Canyon, which Kings Canyon and Sequoia National, are side by side and everything. But beautiful places to camp, beautiful places to RV.
It really was. It was, yeah.
Page is more arid. It's more deserty. Antelope Canyon, and that's where the famous Horseshoe Bend is.
Yes.
Now it's an influencer hotspot because people go out there in wedding dresses and stuff and take pictures on the whatever.
Which we saw.
Yeah, I know. Now I sound like an old man. Get off my Horseshoe Bend.
But that trip to Page, I think, is the first time I ever saw one of those. What's that big camper van company? Cruise America. I think so. The first time we saw people driving those, and they had all stopped at Horseshoe Bend when we were, and we realized how many Europeans come to the U.S. and they rent these RVs and they drive around the country seeing various, points of interest. But it was just surprising to me. It never occurred to me that people from other countries would come here, rent an RV, and drive around the country.
Yeah, I think maybe that's an inherent bias that we have. I would think, well, no one would go to Southeast Texas and, there's just refineries and swamp water, right? Until I met an influencer a travel writer who had just come back from there, and she absolutely loved the place. She was like, oh my gosh, you guys have the best eateries and things like that. And I was just kind of taken aback. I was like, wow, maybe this place wasn't so bad. Maybe it's because I spent 30 years here. But we did. I remember years ago, my friend Andy Benson and I, we went to Big Bend National Park in Texas. And I remember to this day, we met a couple, a husband and wife. They were younger at the time. Obviously, it was years ago. But they were a European couple, and they had told us about it. They were like, we were in this camper van. We rented it, you know, because Europeans get like a month off.
Yeah.
Because Americans, we're going to work till lunchtime on the day we die. But they take the month off, rent a van, travel around the country.
Right.
It's beautiful. Right. I like that.
Well, and so I recently I worked with someone who recently went to Iceland, and that's what they did there. They rented a van or an RV in Iceland so that they could drive around the entire country and stop wherever they wanted to. And she said it was the best vacation they've ever taken.
I love it.
I think we need to do it.
Camping in all of its forms. I've had so much fun. My friend John and I and a bunch of our friends, including the guy Andy I just mentioned, we've taken now multiple backpacking trips where you go into the backcountry of places like Yosemite and hiked 50 miles from the backcountry into where the beginning of the park is, where most people congregate. We've done that 50 miles in, then climbed Half Dome. Most recently, we went to Glacier National Park, did the same thing. Started near the Canadian border, hiked in 50 miles, and ended up at some of the more famous, like camping by the lakes in these national parks. It's just so beautiful. It's so memorable.
When you say hiking, you mean you're backpacking.
Yeah, backpacking.
You are carrying everything.
50-pound backpacks.
Yeah.
Yeah, food and water and you know, your sleeping bag and a tent. But it's as close as probably most people get to primitive camping anymore. And that's not even super, super primitive. There are people that do it crazy. Then there are, especially here in the western part of the United States, again, my friend John and I recently, earlier this summer, we went on what we called our epic road trip.
I love epic road trips.
Epic road trip where we hit about 5 national parks up through Utah, all the way up to Yellowstone National Park and Grand Teton and all the way back down. It was so much fun. And that's what I like about the evolution of camping now. It encompasses so many different things, from glamping to RVing and van life to primitive camping and backpacking and everything in between. I mean, I think there are still Webelos and do they still have Webelos? Webelos and Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts and different troops and just like different groups that go out and camp, whether it's for a night or a week or a month, however long. There's people that walk the Pacific Coast Trail, which is hundreds of miles long, you know.
Right.
But it all, I think, encompasses and has its heart set in camping.
Well, I feel like in general, people want to get back to nature. We don't all live, but a lot of us live in these cities or in towns that, you know, nature is the tree in your front yard or you have some grass, but it's a totally different thing to be surrounded by it, to not have, you know, your house right there, to go and like experience nature in a different way. And I think people are kind of wanting to get back to that, and maybe not back to sleeping in the dirt, but just experiencing nature and being surrounded by it.
Yeah.
I love I love when we go camping, or not camping.
True, yeah. My computer started speaking to me. That's why we got thrown off.
Yeah, sorry. But I love when we go stay places that are more in nature. Like when we went to Lake Tahoe a few years ago, and we rented a house right there. Yeah. And we would just sit out on the back porch and just be in nature. I'm so thrown off right now. I'm sorry.
Well, it wouldn't be an episode of the Unskilled Travel Show without us being thrown off a little bit. This time, Siri had her own thoughts about why camping is fun. For everyone here, thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time.